What? Again, with just some kind of discussion questions before we jump into our notes. So sorry, admitting the last couple people, hopefully. But our first question is, what is delayed gratification if you know? What is kind of your best guess? And if you're not sure, that's okay. Maybe you want to take a guess just based on the words. What is delayed gratification? What do you think? A mental reward that is delayed. Postponing buying something you want now so you can reach a financial goal. Buying something now and paying it off in the future, kind of like an investment. A delayed reward for doing something. What else we got? When you reap the rewards for hard work at a later time. Self-control. A reward that is stopped until a later time. So yeah, and some of those are great and some are kind of on the right track. Basically, it's you resist the temptation of immediate reward in preference for a later reward. Your book gives an example, I think, about it's saying you're saving money for college and you put away $30 a month or something like that, but you want these shoes. So the choice of not buying the shoes so you have enough money to meet that long-term goal is the delayed gratification. You're going to be satisfied later on, kind of thing. So maybe you've experienced this, maybe not. Maybe you don't have impulse control and you impulse buy, which we kind of talked about earlier in this chapter and why we want to avoid that. Let's see what my next question is. Why is financial planning important? Okay, so you don't get trapped in debt, so you can have enough money to survive. Yeah, to not go into debt. A handful of people are saying that. So you know what to do with certain savings and you can be organized financially. So you don't have trouble with money in the future and can plan out your future. Better financial planning means better budgeting to keep track of how you spend your money and spend it wisely. All right, and then Next question. Why will your financial plan change over time? Your goals might change. Yeah, I assume. Your income might change, or you might have to provide for more people. As interest rate rise, you could earn more interest. So your income, different incomes and expenses in the future. Your priorities can change. Something you thought was important, a year ago might not be as important to you now. The economy can change, and we've talked about that, how, if the economy changes, or inflation, your income can change. You might have some new expenses. Your bills can change. Could be for the good or the bad. Life is unpredictable, so you kind of have to always be ready to make those changes. Yeah, so you never know if your income's going to change. Hopefully, if it changes, it's for the better. You could have kids, buy a new, larger home, which costs more. Your bills can change. A couple people said that, and it could be good or bad. Maybe you pay off your car and you no longer have a car payment. Maybe your car breaks down and you now have to go buy a new car, and now you have a new car payment. Your priorities will change. What you want to, maybe you realize you're not putting enough into savings and you need to save more each month. So it'll change over time. It could be regularly. It could be kind of, you don't analyze it as much. Lots of reasons though. So let's go ahead and try to get started on these slides. Wrong button, sorry. All right, so section 3 here in chapter 4 is personal financial planning. Basically, what we're going to do is explain the purpose and steps of financial planning, list reliable sources of financial advice, and describe ways you can protect your financial resources. So again, you don't have to write the objectives down. You should title it though, Personal Financial Planning. So what is financial planning? A financial plan is a set of personal goals and financial goals, along with steps and a timeline for reaching them. That's what I meant to ask. I meant to ask one more question. And this is more just kind of for me. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. So when you hear the term long-term goal, what time period comes to mind? And this is just, there's no right or wrong answer here. Everyone's perspective is different, and I meant to ask this kind of before. So just kind of chime in if you don't mind. If I say long-term goal, because I'm going to ask, do you have any long-term goals? But what does that mean in your mind to be a long-term goal? And I've gotten, from the last class, we got answers kind of all over the place. So 5 to 10 years, 10 plus years, college years, retirement. until you've achieved the goal. 5+. So through college, and then when you get there, maybe 6 years, 10 to 20 years, 5 to 10+ years. So again, there was no right or wrong answer to that in this situation. So do you have any long-term goals for yourself? Whatever you think of as long-term goals, do you have any? And if so, have you thought about the cost of achieving those goals? So we may do a goal setting activity next week, but you also may have done something similar already in your 10-year plan. But I know some of you don't take those as seriously as maybe you should, and hopefully now that you're in your later years, you will, and make those more applicable. But yeah, just kind of everyone real quick chime in. Again, it can be just privately to me. I just want to know where we are. If you already have goals, there's we may revise them. If a lot of you don't have them yet, then we may take some time to kind of think about them. So do you have any long-term goals for yourself? And you don't have to tell me what it is. I'm just asking kind of a yes or no. And then have we thought about the cost of achieving those goals? So mostly yeses, that we have goals. All right. Let's see. Okay, so that's kind of part of this, why I was going on that track. So I said a financial plan is a set of personal goals and financial goals along with the steps and a timeline for reaching them. So based on your book, the financial plan steps, I don't know why it says budgets. We kind of went over the steps for budgets already. Step 1 is to gather information. And when you're making a financial plan, your information is going to be related to your finances, your cash flow statement, your net worth statement, your bank account balances, maybe your tax returns, your pay stubs, different things that have to do with your financial records. Then you're going to analyze that information. You know, does your budget match your cash flow statement? You know, are you overdrawing your account? You're going to want to kind of look at all of that information and make sure it all matches up. Then you want to set goals. We'll focus more on that on a different slide. Develop a timeline and benchmarks, and implement and evaluate plan. So this is just a quote. He who fails to plan is planning to fail. So basically it says if you don't make a plan, then you're just saying you're going to fail. Not always the case, but good quote. So step 3, setting your goals. So the first thing you want to do there is set your personal goals, which is defined as things you want to achieve in your life. Maybe it's go to college, maybe it's buy your own home, maybe it's become an architect. What do you want to achieve in your life? And then financial goals come second. Those are plans for how you're going to pay for your personal goals. If you're going to college, are you taking out loans? Are your parents helping you? Are you hoping to get a lot of scholarships and other financial aid? Your book defines short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals with different time frames. For the sake of this chapter and like your vocab assignment, yes, you're going to want to know these definitions, but if long-term goals mean something different to you, that's not a huge deal. Most of you did say something similar though. So short-term goals, your book defines as things you expect to achieve within 1 week to a year. So anything within the year, that's going to be considered a short-term goal. Maybe you want to buy a car, a phone, maybe save for vacation. Intermediate goals are things you wish to achieve in the next 2 to 5 years. Maybe it's saving money to buy a home. Maybe it's to finish college in 5 years. Those are intermediate goals. Buying a car could be an intermediate goal. If you want to make sure you save enough money, it might take you more than a year. Long-term goals are things you want to achieve in more than 5 years from now. Maybe you want to save money for children, college, retirement. So I'm trying to make sure I give you guys enough time to write everything down. If I'm going too fast still, let me know. So step 4 is to develop a timeline and benchmark. So a timeline is a visual display of how long it'll take to achieve each phase of a plan. And then benchmarks are standards against which progress is measured. We'll see examples of this or an example in a minute, but not related to finance, but you've probably seen stuff like this in other classes. Like if you have a big project due, maybe it's an essay in English that's due in 3 weeks. That, part of the timeline or benchmark, one of your benchmarks might be your rough draft is due in 1 week. Again, that's not a financial example, but it gives you an idea of the same idea. And then step 5 is implement and evaluate the plan. So implement, you kind of follow through with it. And you should always be evaluating. Did it go as planned? What kind of happened? Did your income change? Did something happen that you need to add to your plan? All right, so this is an example of Bill Fong's financial plan for April. His net worth is just over $525. So his personal goal is to live in his own house in the country. So in order to do that, his financial goal is to buy a house in the country. So his first benchmark is save money for a down payment. And the timeline there, he's saying is going to take him 5 years. So to do this, he's going to set aside $200 per month. So once per month, starting next week. He's going to open a separate account for his money saved. That way he's not getting it confused with something else. This is just separate for his down payment. And he wants to talk to a mortgage broker to get prepared, which he has scheduled for next week, or 2 weeks, I guess, April 15th. And then the second benchmark is to get a job that provides enough income to make monthly payments. So sure, right now he has income because he's setting aside $200 a month, but that's probably not enough to cover his mortgage on his home when he buys it. So he's giving himself 2 years to get this better paying job that will allow him to make these monthly payments. So then where can you go to get good financial advice? So you can talk to a certified financial planner, a CFP, which is a professional consultant who provides financial advice, and they should be board certified. They are sometimes also called financial advisors. So they help people develop their financial plans and meet their financial goals. So they would be looking at every aspect of your financial life. So in financial planners, yes, you have to pay for them. Sometimes it's a percentage of their sales. Sometimes it's an upfront fee. It really just depends. And then other financial advice, if you don't want to get a financial planner, there are newspapers, there are magazines. You do not need to write all of these examples down. You should just know where these other resources are. Seminars and workshops. There are financial planning websites. There are probably many more than those. You are free to browse on the internet, but as you all know, not everything you see on the internet is reliable. All right, so how can you protect your financial resources? So you can get financial advice, but then when you have these financial resources, you want to protect yourself. This is a list from your book. You do not need to copy all of it down. 1 second, take a minute to read through the Okay, sorry. So hopefully you read through some of these. Like I said, they're in your book. One thing that you guys will be, next chapter is banking accounts. But yes, you do want to make sure you're verifying your account balances regularly, especially with everything being online these days. It's easy for you to check, but it's also might be easier for someone else to access them. That's the biggest one on here. Beware of phishing. Phishing is a common internet scam that uses email messages to deceive you. So maybe you get this email and they title it, or the name on it says it's, you know, someone you know. Well, if you check the email address, it might not actually be that person's real email, and they just put that name on there. And then beware of identity theft. So identity theft is the use of your personal information by someone else without permission to commit fraud or other crimes. So you never want to give out your personal information. Places aren't going to call you and ask you to verify your social security number or your account number by phone. Keep those secure. You don't want to give that out, because then somebody can steal your identity. They can get debt in your name. They could commit other sorts of fraud, and it can be a long, difficult road to recover and kind of prove that it wasn't you doing those things. So before we go, last couple things. Your homework tonight is 1 through 20 and then 22. So basically skip problem 21. Tomorrow, we are going to be working in breakout rooms on critiquing budgets. And then we're going to also do an activity on needs versus wants for your homework. And then your chapter 4 tests will be next week, I believe on Friday. There's kind of a lot we can do with this chapter, with budgeting, financial planning, possibly goal setting. So that's where we are. If you have any questions, I will be sticking around. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m.